Israel right now. So we have some movement on the war front there.
Yeah.
A ground invasion of Gaza has begun.
Yeah, this happened like 3 days ago. We're recording this Tuesday. This happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
I think we reported on this when we recorded last time. They were preparing for a ground invasion, but the U.S. and other Western allies had been urging Israel to hold off in hopes that they could make a little bit more progress on freeing hostages. The crazy thing is, when Israel finally does go in on Saturday, they completely shut down communications, like cell towers, internet, that the entirety of the Gaza Strip had, so that they couldn't communicate any information to outside of the area, and they couldn't communicate among themselves within Gaza. This meant that people couldn't figure out whether their families were okay, whether their friends were okay. They couldn't call an ambulance if they were affected by one of the airstrikes. In my opinion, a really kind of barbaric war crime-esque thing to do.
Oh, yeah, it's gross.
It was terrible. And this is, of course, amongst reports of entire families being wiped out. I was listening to The Daily from the New York Times earlier, and there was an interview with someone who said they had lost 70 family members already in the airstrikes, and that the feeling that you get when that happens is just that your time is kind of coming, that death is inevitable. And that is this horrifying situation that has now evolved in Gaza.
That's insane.
So this happens for 24 hours, communications are out. Then the good thing that the U.S. does here, at least reports say that the U.S. urges Israel to allow communications to go back up, for internet to be up.
I want to interject for a second there, because before they put the communications back up, they released a video saying how they don't want to kill civilians. How are the people in Gaza supposed to watch the video, guys? You had the internet down.
Yeah.
How did you expect the people of Gaza to watch that video? The answer is that they didn't. It was to appease Western audiences.
Yeah.
It was impossible for the Gazans and the Palestinians to watch the video. So why are you even releasing a video talking about how you don't want to hurt the civilians and you want the people of Gaza to see this message and to move south? You cut off their access to watching it.
Yeah.
You know, you're just lying.
No, they don't. It's becoming pretty clear that they don't care about that. So now what's happening is Israel is looking to divide northern Gaza City from the south to isolate Hamas. So what I've read is the idea of these airstrikes bombarding Gaza City is to drive Hamas into the tunnels. Okay. Then they're coming in with tanks and other ground vehicles to isolate the city, allow like whatever civilians they can to get out. But then once Hamas is in the tunnels, now they're preparing to go in for the urban assault, root them out of their tunnels, and kill everybody in Hamas. That's the idea right now. Of course, it has come at the cost of now over 8,000 civilian lives in Gaza.
When the urban assault starts happening, that number is going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
You know, like when the soldiers actually enter the city, that number is going to go up very, very, very fast.
True. Because Hamas also uses the civilian presence to their advantage.
No doubt.
They're completely okay using the civilians as human shields.
There was an interview with a Hamas leadership, and he was asked directly why Hamas doesn't do more to, protect the lives of the people. And he says, and the Hamas official says that that's the job of the UN, not the job of Hamas. Hamas does not care about protecting the lives of the Palestinian people at all. Yeah. They have no interest in that. Their only interest is killing Jews and destroying the state of Israel. They have no interest in helping the people of Palestine. They are tools of their political goal, not people to be taken care of for them.
Yeah, which is
extremely
sickening.
We'll be criticizing Israel a lot through this, but there is never any point where we're saying that Hamas is okay and cool.
No, they're both horrible.
Both terrible.
Like, that is what is more and more clear.
Yes.
And part of that on the Israel side is that Netanyahu categorically rejected the idea of a ceasefire and said that Western allies, people calling for a ceasefire, are basically saying they want Israel to surrender to Hamas, which is a false equivocation if I've ever heard one.
No, we're not asking you to.
Absolutely ridiculous. The idea that the retaliation hasn't already been way overblown for the Hamas attack. And again, the Hamas attack was absolutely horrible and just a ridiculous scale of violence against almost entirely civilians. And yet what Israel has done is over 5 times that amount of death in Gaza.
And the amount of the infrastructure that's been destroyed. We're talking 25% of homes.
Yeah.
Gone. Just gone. Where are those people going to go? Where do they go?
No.
And then on top of this, so you destroy all these people's homes. So they go into refugee camps. And then today, we have an Israeli officer on CNN openly admitting that they bombed a refugee facility, killing tens of civilians.
Yeah.
Oh, some estimate it to be 100, but that's the Hamas number. I'm not going to say it's 100 because I don't trust the Hamas number, but at least tens of civilians. And the Israeli officer was like, yeah, we killed one Hamas official in that bombing.
Yeah.
And then Wolf Blitzer's like, okay, but you did bomb a refugee facility and killed tens of civilians. Like, you know that. He's like, that's the price of war. Like, this is fucked up.
Yeah. It's completely fucked up. And it is completely fucked up on both sides because, again, the Hamas agents locate themselves there
Of course.
purposely so that they can make Israel look bad. But that doesn't mean that it's okay for Israel to do the thing that makes them look bad.
No, it's still not right. That's not how you operate in rules of war.
No.
That's not how a democracy is supposed to fight wars, okay? Now, look, the United States has done terrible, awful things in Iraq, did terrible, awful things in Iraq, did terrible, awful things in Afghanistan. But that doesn't give carte blanche for me as an American to say, okay, my country did it. I guess all you guys could do it too. No, we have to make our country better, and we have to make all other countries better.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm
Totally.
allowed to say my country has flaws, so I'm going to also criticize your country when it does the same flaw, right? As long as I'm criticizing my own country when it happens, which we do.
Yes.
So let's move on to the political fight that's going on in the United States right now in regards to aid for Israel. So Biden proposed a joint funding defense bill for funding for Ukraine, funding for Taiwan, funding for Israel, funding for the border of the United States. Now, McConnell likes this approach. Mitch McConnell's on board with this, but progressives and hard right-wingers don't like it. Progressives don't like it because they want to fund the Ukraine aid, but don't want to fund the Israeli aid. That's talking about Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, probably AOC, maybe sorta. She's probably still up in the air on that. But now, with the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who has indicated that he's for Ukraine aid, he has said that. He has also indicated that he's for Israeli aid, but Mike Johnson has proposed to separate the bills and only bring an Israeli funding bill to the floor in the coming days for $14 billion. But the caveat is he wants a pay for in it. That's fine. How are you going to pay for it? He wants to reduce the funding for the IRS by $14 billion. Oh my God. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean when you want to reduce the IRS funding for $14 billion? We've talked on this show before about how IRS funding is extremely efficient at capturing more money entering the federal, the treasure chest there. All right. It's very, very effective at bringing more money into the purse. And it's all about capturing money that is already due to the United States.
Yeah.
But tax cheats are just getting away with it. Right. So by rescinding $14 billion, that will limit the IRS's ability to enforce current tax law, limit operational support, eliminate the free file for taxpayers. So this is a really big deal. Every tax season, a lot of working class Americans have to pay TurboTax or have to pay H&R Block to do their taxes for them. The IRS is currently working on, with the new money that Biden appropriated through the Inflation Reduction Act, I'll mind you, they're working on a free e-file system. So every American can just log on to the IRS web portal, click a few buttons, and bop, 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 you've done your taxes. All free, no cost to you. IRS has got you covered.
Yeah.
And the Republicans want to eliminate that. They want to make your life harder. They want to eliminate operational support.
That's great. This can save like $50 a year for every family.
Literally every single family in America, right? And it's just because, and so in addition to this, right, it's a pay for. He's saying we'll take away $14 billion from the IRS and then we'll give it to Israel. Well, the Congressional Budget Office would score this bill as increasing the deficit Because reducing the IRS budget by $14 billion means you're not capturing as much of the revenue that you should be capturing from those high-income individuals. We've talked about this before. High-income individuals have their assets in a lot of different places, and it makes their tax filings very, very complicated. It makes it hard for the IRS to audit them. Well, with the new money from the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRS has been able to crack down on tax cheats and has targeted 1,200 specific millionaires that they're going after to get more money from them. Mike Johnson doesn't want millionaires to pay their taxes, but he wants every firefighter to pay his taxes. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Is that the Republican platform? It's just, it blows my mind that people don't see through this, that it's just absolutely blatant BS. And it blows my mind. And so, like, now what are we talking about? We talk so much. The Republicans talk so much about how Democrats don't support Israel enough. You're the ones who are trying to make this a political fight about domestic policy.
Yeah.
Democrats are out here saying, yeah, we'll do the $14 billion for Israel. We'll do you one better. We'll save every democracy across the world. We'll fund the defense of everyone. You know, we'll even put more money towards the border. But then he's like, no, reduce the IRS, make it easier for millionaires to avoid their taxes, and then maybe we'll give money to Israel. I mean, it's insane to me that they have somehow captured the right to say that they're the pro-Israel party when they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is hard for me to wrap my head around. It seems to harken back to the very fundamental neoliberal ideology of, or neoliberal, neoconservative of, we are very involved abroad. We are massively militarily invested in our allies, right? And that feels very Reagan-esque.
Sure.
But it's just not the reality anymore. So.
And it's insane.